What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back. We're going to get right into the video. This is 7 NBA role players who have been having a sneaky, or, well, maybe you know about them, just a fantastic season all around. Yes, this list is just role players. No stars on here. I could get on here right now and talk about Tatum. Nobody really cares, though, because Tatum's supposed to be a superstar. Or Luka, he's supposed to be a superstar. But when I list off these 7 names, none of these guys really come to mind as superstars. However, they have been superstars in their roles so far, if that makes any sense to you. Don't forget to like, comment, share, sub. Do all those wonderful things. We're starting it off with my Boston Celtics, Neemias Queta. At first glance, you look at Queta's box score game logs, you see 3 points, 10 rebounds last game, 14 points, 8 boards against Golden State, 10 points, 7 boards against Atlanta, 12.6 boards against Charlotte. You'd think to yourself, that's not really impressive. What's so impressive about it? Honestly, it's how he fills the role and just how competent he's been. Neemias Queta was always a raw prospect. Even with the Kings, it was just he never had anything developed. All he was athleticism and size. But with Boston so far, I'm not saying he's stepping out shooting threes. Hell no. But he has been really good at blocking shots at the rim and finishing dunk and layup opportunities, drawing fouls. He's been really good. The biggest thing, though, is his ability to block shots and contest shots at the rim. I love Al Horford. He's been my guy. We won a championship with him just last year at the starting center spot because KP was hurt. However, Al Horford, Luke Kornet, not shot blockers. Luke Kornet especially has been bad this season, like really bad. And I don't know if the numbers are going to show that, but you watch him visually on the court, Luke Kornet, and oftentimes he just floats. He's not sure whether to come up on a screen or to drop back. So when the big man goes to screen, he's kind of just sitting in the mid-range. And that's what got him benched against Golden State and Atlanta. In the Atlanta game specifically, Kornet was really getting under my skin because he was sitting in the mid-range and just floating when it was Trae Young, Capella, pick and roll. Now, obviously, you might want to contest Trae Young, but I'm not worried about that because we have some of the greatest defensive guards in the game currently. You need to fall back and you need to stop the lob. And the thing is Luke Kornet was just floating in the mid-range. Clint Capella's not popping. Clint Capella's not popping on a pick and roll. He is going right to the basket, right? So you got to know Capella's a lob threat. He's going to fall back. Kornet ended up getting dunked on like twice by Capella simply because he was late to fall back to the lob. And then on top of that, like I said, the Celtics don't have a shot blocker right now. And Queta's provided that, and he's filled in and been very, very competent, I'll say. He had a couple blocks against the Warriors. He blocked a Steph Curry layup. He blocked him a couple times. I think he blocked Steph. And then against Brooklyn, he had a couple of blocks too. So just his ability to fill in and be a rim protector that the Celtics don't have right now has been completely needed and wanted. It's a necessity for the Celtics. One of the reasons that their opponent field goal against is one of the highest in the league is simply because they don't have a rim protector. If you can get penetration and get 2 feet in the paint against them, nobody's really going to block you. Al and Derek White are tremendous at what they do, but they are not protecting the rim consistently enough, especially when Derek White's getting dragged out to the perimeter. So he's guarding a guard out on a three-point line. He can't contest a dunk and layup. So you need a big body who can do that, and Neemias Queta has filled that hole perfectly. Obviously, his offensive game is not developed still. He still has moments where, I'm going to be honest, he's 7 foot with a really long wingspan. Keep the ball up. Stop putting it down. Don't hold the ball down. That's how you get ripped. Every offensive rebound he grabs, I swear to you, he pulls it down to about his waist, and then he gets ripped. You need to keep the ball up. All right? That's a little complaint, but he's been fantastic in the role that the Celtics have needed him to play. Queta's probably like the worst box score one I have on this list, just as I'm looking at it now. His box scores don't scream anything, but like I said, for a team like the Celtics who has championship aspirations, you need a big man who can protect the paint, specifically the rim. You need a big man who can stop layups. And Neemias Queta, 7 foot, he's only 25 years old. He's not old or anything. He's 25. And he kind of reminds me of like a 7 foot Rob Williams. Of course, nobody will ever match Time Lord in my heart. Time Lord is amazing. He had a 3 the other day. Shout out Time Lord. Kind of reminds me of Rob in the way that he catches lobs. He finishes well. He's real strong, plays through contact, and is a really good shot blocker at the rim. So the Celtics have needed a guy like Queta to step up off the bench, especially with Jaylen Brown now out too. And Queta's filled in really well. So I'm happy to see him striving and doing well. I hope, and I pray to all that's holy, he just takes Luke Kornet's whole position and we just phase out Luke Kornet altogether. That's my hope. This next one might come as a surprise to people because everyone talks about his brother. Everyone talks about Caleb Martin, now with the 76ers, but he was fantastic with the Heat. He can knock down open shots. He's a real good hustle player. Cody Martin's been having a sneaky good year too in Charlotte, still in Charlotte. And he was drafted there in 2019, I believe. He's been there a while. He might be the oldest guy on roster from like tenured. But game log wise, like I'm looking at it right now, 15 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 6 from 3. He had a 25-point outing against Toronto, 11 points against Boston. He's been terrific defensively as well, and he's knocking down his open threes when he gets them. Cody Martin, while he hasn't been, spectacular, again, this is role players who've been playing well. You look at his on-off numbers. Let me pull it up. His differential, his efficiency differential, which is team points scored per 100 possessions, minus team points allowed per 100 possessions, has been a 16.2. That's basically his plus minus. And plus 16.2 is legit good. Defensively, you look at it, his defensive numbers, opponent points per 100 possessions goes down. He's in the 82nd percentile for opponent points per possession, per 100 possessions. Effective field goal percentage drops when he's playing. I'm not saying this is directly all him. However, what's he shooting from 3 on the year? 40%, 14 to 35, 8 of 18 on non-corner threes too. I'm not saying this is going to last all season for Cody Martin, but his defense has been especially fantastic. He's had a couple of steals, a couple of decent high steal games, talking 2 steals a game. I mean, this is a guy who's only playing like 20-something minutes, mid-20s. He's never touched 30 this season for minutes. However, like I said, in the minutes he has played, Cody Martin has put together a pretty quality season. And I watched their game against Indiana the other night, and he was shooting with confidence. He looked free, and like he could get a shot up and not be scared to be benched about it. So that's always good when you see a player playing with confidence. On top of that, he's moving the ball well. Like, he had a 4-assist game in there too against Indiana. Rebounding wise, like 3 to 5 rebounds a game is consistent for him. Wasn't sure which guy in Charlotte I wanted to give the spot to because like Trey Mann's having a good year. What is his name? Let me find it. Hold on. Musa Diabate. But Musa has been really good in his minutes too. It's just I decided to give it to Cody Martin because he's played 100 more minutes. So I'll take the guy with 100 more minutes who has actually been really, really good. His usage rate's in the 50th percentile, but his points per shot attempt is in the 66th percentile. That's really quality. As of right now, he is having a career year. 10.2 points per game is his highest mark. 0.8 steals per game isn't a career high mark, but that's not bad. 4 rebounds a game, that's pretty good. And he's shooting, like I said, 40% from 3, 49% from the field. And that's only in 9 games, 24 minutes a game. Like I said, he's not playing a ton of minutes, but it's enough to really make an impact. And defensively, he's been so solid. Plus minus wise, he's had 1 stinker game. It was against Minnesota, but they got routed anyways. With or without Cody Martin, they got blown out. But if you look at plus minus, in the Indiana game, Charlotte won by 20, and Cody Martin was a plus 39. Like, that's legit good. And then some other games he's had some lower plus minuses, but it's kind of hard to judge plus minus for a guy like Cody Martin when he's on the Hornets. No offense to the Hornets, but like when they're losing by 10 plus, it's not like Cody Martin's the reason they're down by 10. Like, they lost to Boston by 10 points and he was a -2. That's pretty good in 19 minutes. Is this going to stick all year for Cody Martin? Maybe not. Not sure about that because, like I said, he's averaging a career high in points right now. But for just being a supporting cast member for the Charlotte Hornets team, like Grant Williams has been relatively good, even though his shooting is spotty. And then, of course, Brandon Miller coming back. This team has been plagued with injuries because, like I said, they started Taj Gibson the other night. They started Taj Gibson at center the other night. Taj Gibson is 39. So they've been derailed and punched by injuries, as they are every year, it seems, with LaMelo or Brandon Miller starting off injured now. But when you have a guy like Cody Martin, when everything starts to come together, when the health fixes, Brandon Miller and LaMelo are back, Nick Richards is back, you have a starting center that's not Taj Gibson. Cody Martin's a really good complementary piece for them, especially when he's shooting 40% from 3. Just a really impressive season, but we are going to move on to number 3 right now from the San Antonio Spurs. It's one of my sneaky favorite players to watch. Not to watch. I'm jacking it saying one of my favorite players to watch, but one of my favorite players to see strive right now. It's Julian Champagnie. Julian Champagnie is currently averaging his highest points per game mark since he arrived in San Antonio in those 15 games that he first started there, averaging 11. But since then, he averaged 7 points per game last year. He's up to 10 this year. He's shooting 36.7% from 3 on 6 attempts. That's a career high in attempts for him. And on top of that, he's shooting 45% from the field. He's also averaging 5 rebounds with it, with over half a steal per game. It's not the most impressive numbers you'll ever see, but when you see his how he plays the game and how he's contributed to their winning this year when they have won. They've struggled. But last night, specifically against Utah, I believe that was, yeah, he had a really good game in a game that they lost. He's had a 21-point game, a 13-point game, a 14-point game. It's a really weird season for the Spurs because Wembanyama's struggling. But like I said, again, you need complementary role players around these young guys. Similarly to what I said about LaMelo Ball with Brandon Miller in them, is that you need complementary guys who can come in and help them win and just be spacers even. Even if they're just spacers, they're valuable. And Julian Champagnie has been a spacer, 22 of 60 on threes total. This is one of those ones that's kind of tough, though, if I'm being honest, because a guy like Champagnie may start to see his minutes decrease. Because, of course, they have Harrison Barnes on roster, but they also have Keldon, and now Vassell's back. So he might see his role shrink a little bit, but I don't know. An effective field goal percentage of 58.1%. He's shooting, what's that from the rim? He's 15 of 18 on layups and dunks and layups. 15 of 18 is pretty decent. Of course, if you're asking him to do more than shoot threes, he's going to struggle a little bit. Like in the mid-range, he's not hitting his shots at all. But weirdly enough, on total threes, he's 37%. But on corner threes specifically, he's 11 of 24. That's 46% from three. So from the corner, he's knocking down these shots. And, you know, every team needs a corner sitter. You know, you need a 3-and-D guy. And Champagnie has been very, very competent for them. He also rebounds well. I think I said that before. But his rebounding numbers have been pretty consistent. He'll put up 6, you know, about 6 a game. And on top of that, he plays solid defense. Like, he stays in front of people. He's only 23 years old. I don't know why I feel like the Champagnie brothers in general are older than they are. But no, he's only 23 years old. And like I said, on corner threes, 46%. That's super valuable for the Spurs when Wemby's getting double teamed. You know, they try and throw entry passes to Wembanyama. And Wemby's, as soon as he catches that ball, he's seeing 2 bodies. So you got to be able to knock down the open shots when you're playing 4 on 3, yeah. And then shooting the ball, like I said, against Utah, he struggled. He was 2 of 7, but he did have a really big 3 down the stretch of that game. I think it was about a minute left when they fell down maybe like 5 points or so, and he leaked out and got an early 3 up and hit it. Made it a 2-point game. They still ended up losing the game, like I said, but he hit a big time shot there, and it was from the corner, funny enough. But when he is in the game, like against Portland, he was fantastic. Relocate threes. You know, he did have a relocate 3, actually. And then on top of that, he was making layups and stuff, too. You know, Champagnie is having a sneaky good season. And like I said, Wemby has struggled. 100% Wemby has struggled to start the year. But when he turns it around, and it's inevitable, he's got to fix his offensive game, Wembanyama. I have so much faith in him to do it. And when he does, Champagnie is going to be a really good role player to keep with them. It's just, will he play over Vassell, Keldon, and Barnes? I don't know. But watching him play, he's been really impressive to me. For a guy who I genuinely didn't really even think about. Neither of the Champagnie brothers really come to mind. And he's been really, really good. And on top of that, he was born, 11 days before me? That's pretty cool. He's from Staten Island, New York, too. So, you know, New York guy, born just a couple of, literally like 2 weeks before me, maybe. So that's pretty cool as well. I genuinely didn't know that. And he's hooping. 36.7% from 3 is very disingenuous. Like I said, he is shooting 40% from corner threes. So that's pretty good. Here's where I'm going to start getting more to the more well-known ones. Starting off, we are going to Phoenix, and we are talking about the current Phoenix Suns leader in plus minus. It is Royce O'Neal. Did you know his middle name is Khalil? Yeah, his name is Royce Khalil O'Neal. Pretty cool, to be honest. It rhymes off pretty well. I don't know who calls him Big Meal. That is hilarious. Royce Khalil O'Neal, a.k.a. Big Meal. Interesting. But he has been so good. It is so random to see. He's only averaging 10 a game, but averaging 10, 6, and 2 as a role player with a block a game, that's pretty good. And he's shooting, brace yourselves, he is shooting 53% from 3. 53%. Ugh, I went on Cleaning the Glass to go look up Royce O'Neal's stats, and I almost pressed Royce White. We don't support Royce White around here. We do not support Royce White around here. If you do, I don't know what to tell you, big man. Get on an airplane, Royce White. All right, but he is 20 of 38 from behind the arc, talking about Royce O'Neal. Hell no, Royce White could never shoot 20 of 38 from behind the arc. So, You know, he had a couple of floaters too in their last game that I watched against, who was that against? Dallas? Yeah, against Dallas. He had a couple of floaters, a couple of layups. He's been really just impressive. You know, shooting the ball, even in their win against Philadelphia, he had 15 points, shot 6 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3, 2 of 4 from 3 against Miami, 5 of 6 at 3 against the Clippers. Those are fantastic games for Royce O'Neal. He's an underrated passer too, in my opinion. Although his assist numbers aren't crazy, I think he's had a career triple-double before. So, you know, obviously he can move the ball and he can make the right reads. Back when he was in Brooklyn, he was moving the ball real well with KD, because once KD got 2 bodies, they'd swing it to Royce and then Royce would go make a play. So he showed he has some playmaking chops, and he's just an all-around great role player to have. Do I think 53% from 3 is going to stick? Maybe not, probably not. But if he could still stick in the 40s somewhere, game logs wise, like I said, it might not be the most impressive thing in the world. We're talking about role players here, not stars. Remember that? So they do go under 10. Believe it or not, there is a brand of player that scores less than 10 sometimes. But he's averaging basically a block a game. From the Lakers game to the Miami game, he had 1 block in every game at least. So, I mean, that's just impressive. And then he played good defense on Luka on a couple of possessions in the last game. You know, when he's on the court, he has been such a difference maker for them. And he was last year. In all fairness, Royce O'Neal was fantastic last year. This is not some revelation. Royce O'Neal has been a quality role player even during his time in Utah. Opponents on threes are shooting minus 5.2% when Royce O'Neal is guarding them, is on the court. And although that might not say a ton, it shows that he's at least in defensive positioning. And he's in the 88th percentile for effective field goal percentage against. Just an underrated season from Royce O'Neal. The more I read into it, the more I'm just kind of enjoying what he's doing so far. He's also averaging 1.6 offensive rebounds a night. 1.6 offensive rebounds. He's almost buying you 2 extra possessions per night. That's just impressive. And for a role player, albeit. You know, role player isn't meant to be disrespectful anymore. Role players get paid. You know what I mean? Role players back in 01... I think of, like, you know, back when I was growing up, I don't know, somebody in like 07, a James Posey type. James Posey was a real good role player, or Leon Poe. I'm thinking of Celtics only now. But those guys were role players. They were not getting paid crazy. But nowadays, a role player will get you 15 plus mil a year. He has been very good in general, just all around good. I mean, he doesn't do anything really wrong. He's one of those, he's in the strain of player that I like to call a Mr. Make the Right Play. And Royce just does that, you know, and especially when he's knocking down his open threes and he's still playing the same quality defense. There's genuinely nothing bad I can say about how Royce O'Neal has played this season. He has been fantastic. Now we're going to talk about a guy who has been pretty good all season, and albeit he's playing with one of the best players in the NBA, probably the best player in the NBA if you ask some people. It is my white shooter, Christian Braun. He is shooting 50% from 3 on 3.6 attempts. That is 1.8 out of 3.6. 50% from 3, 16.6 points per game. 17 a game, basically, at Christian Braun. He has been so good. Also averaging 5 rebounds a game, averaging 1 steal and 1 block as well. 56% from the field. What can't Christian Braun do right now? And like I said, I get it. He's playing with Yoke. And playing with Yoke, you'll get open looks. Just ask anybody ever. But converting 16 of 32 threes for 50% from the field, I mean, he's not shooting the most efficient from the mid-range. Oh, my goodness. But who needs to take mid-ranges when you have Jokic? You know, he's in the paint. He's taking a lot. You know, Christian Braun isn't expected to be the tough shot maker on this team. Again, you look at game logs. I look at his usage rate. His usage rate is at about 15% this year. If I had to guesstimate a number, somewhere around 10 to 15%, and that's not very high. I want to paraphrase that by saying that's not very high if you don't know usage rates. But 21.6 rebounds, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 17 points, 2 rebounds, 14 points, 17 rebounds. All great games. Mind you, 7 of 9 from the field, 7 of 14, 7 of 11, 6 of 11, 5 of 11, 3 of 4 from 3, 4 of 8 from 3. These are just great stat lines. I said before this season that somebody was going to have to step up. Specifically, one of the young guys for Denver had to step up. It might have been P. Watt. It could have been Christian Brown. Could have been Julian Strother. It was Christian Brown. He's been so good. And against OKC, which is one of the better defensive teams in the league, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 of 8 from 3, 7 of 14 from the field, 6 of 6 at the line. Plus, like I said, he's giving you a block and a steal a game. Christian Brown is quickly entering the Derek White type of realm, where it's this guy's probably not going to make the All-Star game, but this is an All-Star in his role, and this is a guy who very well puts up the stats to look like a fringe All-Star at least. You know, he's on the outside looking in, especially in the West where guard play is stacked, always has been. He's not going to make it, but again, in his last 5 games, 14, 17, 17, 24, 21 for points. You can't complain about that. For on-off numbers, his expected wins, which is how many games would a team win in an 82-game season with this efficiency differential, it's at 65. 65. He's in the 99th percentile for effective field goal percentage, 87th for offensive rebounding percentage. He's a guard. He's 6'6". And he's killing it on the offensive glass. Points per possession, minus 8.7% for opposing teams. Points per 100 possessions, my bad, is minus 8.7% with Christian Brown on the floor. He's been just amazing. There's no other ways I can phrase it other than Christian Brown has been outright amazing this season. And I'm just happy to see it because, you know, we talked about the end of the Nuggets run, and everyone wrote them off, including me. And I'm not saying it's still on. I'm not saying they're championship competitors. They still have holes in their roster. But knowing Christian Brown filled a much-needed hole in the absence of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, it makes you feel a little bit better if you're a Nuggets fan. And it's always way nicer when you can develop the star. You know what I mean? And Christian Brown's not a star, but it always feels better when you can develop the talent. You know, signing a guy is always great. And there's nothing wrong with signing or trading for a really good role player. But when you can develop a really good role player, there's no better feeling, and especially with Denver, when, like I said, they clearly needed the help, and he's giving them the help. I'm happy to see it. I'm really happy to see Christian Brown is striving this season. This last one is a guy who I thought could have been a 6th Man of the Year competitor for the last couple of seasons, but never really has been. It's Caris LeVert. Everyone knows Caris LeVert at this point in his career. 6'7" wing. Caris LeVert, certified tough shot taker. Sometimes a tough shot maker. Sometimes he still does take them goofy-ass shots that are like, what is he doing? 1-foot floaters, you know, from 15 feet. Sometimes you still have to question what is his shot selection. But when he's shooting 15 of 30 from 3, he's shooting 6 of 11 in the mid-range, and he's shooting 21 of 30 at the rim. That's efficiency. And efficient scoring is something that Caris LeVert's been in and out of. He'll have stretches where he's amazing. You know, there's that famous tweet that I love going back to where the guy was like, Caris LeVert spins a wheel every day to determine what NBA player he is. Sometimes he's Michael Jordan. Sometimes he's Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Yeah, that's really Caris LeVert. But this season, I mean, the Cavs have gotten him just about in his best form. And he's not having crazy games. He's just been consistent. And that's one thing that, like I said, Caris LeVert has not figured out in his NBA career is consistency. He's always been a pop 20 or 2 type of guy. 20 or 2 in these big gaps. If he could just be a consistent 12 to 15 point per game guy, and he doesn't need those big pop games where he's putting up 40, you know, if he could just be a consistent 12, he serves such a good purpose to this team. And right now he's quite literally averaging 12 points, 47% from 3, 57% from the field. Is it going to last? Like I said, probably not. But averaging 12 points, 4 assists, that's basically 5. I'm going to round it up. And then 3 rebounds, 1.2 steals, 0.7 blocks. There's nothing more you can ask for out of him. The Cavs have been so good that I felt like I had to give them something in this video. And I could have given it to like Sam Merrill, because Merrill is very good too. He's been shooting the skin off the ball. But I decided to give it to Caris because this guy Caris, I don't think he's had a minus plus minus yet. I don't think he's had a negative plus minus once this season. In a 5-point win against Brooklyn, 5-point win where they were down by double digits at one point, Caris LeVert was a plus 19. You know, a 24-point win against the Lakers, he's a plus 20. 11-point win against Orlando, he's a plus 18. You know, these are really quality games out of Caris LeVert. You're getting not the best version of Caris LeVert because there's still that That 21 point per game score when he first arrived in Indiana. You remember that when he got diagnosed with cancer on the trade or whatever? That trade saved his life. Wild story that was. If you don't remember that one, go look it up. But yeah, you're not going to get 20 points per game Karras efficiently, but if you can get 12 a game Karras efficiently, he fits way better into what this team needs. And like I said, this Cavs team has been as close, literally perfect. They're 11-0. There's no other way to describe them than perfect. They've been perfect to start the year. So to see Karras be a big part of that, and to not be like a shot chucker. He's not shot chucking. A lot of his shots aren't wild. Like I said, you still get the occasional 1 foot fade away from Karras where it's like, what are you doing? But again, a lot of these are open shots that he's either creating an open look or he's getting an open look from somebody else, and he's cashing out these opportunities. And as long as he can keep doing that, he'll keep playing. He only needs to play 23 minutes a night right now. That's how deep the Cavs bench is this year. But if you can keep him at a minimum and keep his efficiency up, his value is just so high right now. And his volume's not as high as it has been before, but you don't need it to be. Karras is a really great player when you don't need to rely on Karras. When you're relying on Caris LeVert a lot, that's when you start to get the 40 or the 4-point game. He's Jeff Green-esque, like young Jeff Green almost. He'll give you a highlight reel every once in a while, but then you won't hear about him for 4 months. But I love Caris LeVert, and it's just been impressive to see what him and the Cavaliers have done this season. But that's all. If you've enjoyed this video, like, comment, share, sub. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to catch you game. See you guys in the next one.